Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, the podcast. It is Weekend Classic week. We are coming off of a roster update. Lots of stuff to talk about, but we're going to focus mostly on the roster update stuff today and kind of not critique it. I guess it's critiquing it. It's more of like an observation and maybe a call to fix things. It'll make more sense once we start. But of course, at the end of this episode, we'll also do a little look into what my roster for my Diamond Dynasty squad currently looks like. But the juicy part of this episode is talking all about roster updates and attributes and what matters and what doesn't. So, without further ado, thank you for being here. Let's rock. So, Bobby Witt is on my screen. Bobby Wit Jr., actually. He is my starting shortstop on my God Squad. You guys who watch my content and, religiously watch my content every week, thank you so much. You know that Bobby Witt's my GOAT. He's my shortstop. He's my leadoff hitter. He's incredible for me. He was updated in the roster update on Friday. And though his overall stayed the same, 90 to 90, he got categorically worse. And here's why. So he got +7 to his contact right and +10 to his contact left. We love that. We're not complaining one iota about that. He got +7 to his vision. We love that. We're not complaining either. But he got -10 to his power versus right, -5 to his power versus left, which is not great. Though I understand it's reflective of the fact that he has only 3 home runs this season. We're not complaining about that. The logic is sound. -8 to his clutch. Frustrating, but if he's not hitting with runners in scoring position, he's not hitters running, whatever. Again, that makes sense. The issue here is that Bobby Witt is incredible. We know he's incredible. He's hitting .310, or at least, based on what I'm staring at on my screen. He had a 22-game hitting streak, I think, that was recently snapped. Bobby Witt's a stud. He's a top 3 player in the game, probably. Maybe you could argue that, but he's top 6 at worst. He's amazing. He's out of this world. So SDS had to keep him at a 90. Why'd they have to do that? Probably a market thing. Probably a collection gatekeeping thing. Probably because Bobby Witt's doing so well, it would be weird to make his card a worse overall. So what did they do? They slapped 10 discipline on him. Oh joy, what an impactful attribute that is. Here's where I'm coming from here. Discipline is an offline sim stat. It's a simulation stat, and that's it. Or attribute. I keep saying stat. It's an attribute. There's a difference, by the way. Stat is what you accumulate with the player when you use him. Attributes are the numbers at the bottom of the card. The +10 discipline does zilch if you are an online player. This is not before I hear it from the comments section. This is not a conversation about how everything should be centered on offline, or online, rather, excuse me. This is a conversation about why can't we have 2 separate rating systems? One for offline, one for online. We already know that they do an offline ratings card reveal at the beginning of every game cycle. I think we need to have SDS reassess the way cards are built and remove some of the fluff. A durability rating on online players does nothing. Or in Diamond Dynasty, period, it's meaningless. Durability doesn't mean a thing. Discipline doesn't mean a thing. We could remove them from the conversation entirely and then allot those attribute points over to somewhere else. Because here's the thing. At this point, the power creep, pitchers are dominating. And when I say pitchers are dominating, I don't mean every game is low scoring. People misinterpret that. It's just that the pitchers have so many more superior options to use than the hitters. And sometimes we have to be stuck using hitter archetypes we don't like. Contact hitters, push hitters, etc., just because the cards aren't built appropriately enough to use others. So we can either, as I said, take discipline and durability out of the cards on online play and allot their attributes elsewhere, Or this is the big thing, and this is where I don't know how I feel about this either. I just want to take the pulse of the community. How do we feel about just having, what's the best way to put it? Like a dormant, not a dormant stat, a latent stat, a stat that exists and can be whatever it is, high, low, or in between, but no matter what it is, has no impact on a player's rating. Durability, for instance. That could be just more of like a character trait than an attribute. If you're a durable player, you have 99 durability, cool. If you're not so durable, you have a 75 durability, it doesn't actually impact your overall. Because when you think about it, if we're going to split hairs here, if you're on the field with a 99 durability, your talent is the same. If you're on the field with a 75 durability, your talent is the same. Durability doesn't affect talent, it affects availability. That's just one thing. And then discipline, I get why it makes sense from an offline perspective, from a simulation perspective, for sure. 100%. But we're not simulating in Diamond Dynasty. Mostly. So I would love if discipline went away. Imagine if we took those 10 attribute points and put more into contact, or more into vision, or something of that, ilk. Bobby Witt is the extreme example here, but J-Ram also stayed the same and got worse. Ironically, they nerfed his discipline here, -3. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Francisco Lindor. He actually he lost clutch, and that stinks. Soto, he's not had a good start. Bobby Witt was the real glaring one, right? That's the one that makes sense to talk about most. Paul Skeens got a home run per 9 boost. That doesn't matter to online players, but Paul Skeens is going to be a 90 at some point anyway. That's fine. We love Paul Skeens. It is. Bryce Harper got a big discipline boost, but lost on everything else. He's kind of had a rough start to the year, if we're being fair. This is not even coming from a place where I didn't make stubs in the roster update, so I'm upset. I don't really care as much about that. Did I sprinkle some investments in? Sure, I did. Most of them were longer-term plays anyway that I'm still holding. That really hasn't altered anything. It's just a conversation of, SDS would like us to use live series players more, right? That's part of why the power creep is back. That's part of why the creep has been structured the way it's been structured. But you can't make these guys worse while saying you're either keeping the same or making them better. Again, I'm not arguing against real life tuning. If a player's playing bad in real life, they deserve a downgrade. 100%. Bobby Witt's not actually playing bad in real life, but the way that their rating structure works, he would have lost overall points had they not boosted his discipline. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I'm just presenting what I view as a talking point. There's never a ton of transparency into what all the attribute totals mean. What, does contact have a higher effect on an overall than discipline? Does bunt actually mean anything? I don't know. I would love to learn more about the actual process of attribute updates. Not just looking at, hey, this guy's hitting 350 versus lefties in the last 2 weeks. Let's give him a contact versus left boost. That makes sense, but that's easy to understand. I can look at that myself. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Pull it back. I want to see what's happening back there. Because I do think we could streamline this process. It might be time to look at how cards are built again. And not start from scratch. We don't want to start from scratch. We just want to trim the fat a little bit. Is there a way? I don't know. I'm very curious. There are a lot of people in this community who are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to this stuff. Attributes, roster updates, etc. This is where I want to crowdsource and get everybody's opinion on it. I do not claim to be the authority on this. I don't want to be the authority on this. But I like to have conversations about this stuff, and I think this is an interesting one, to go back and forth in the comment section on. The question of the day, I suppose, outside of talking about all this stuff, is did the roster update actually impact your lineup decisions? Did you stop using Wit or J-Ram or Soto, though, again, Soto's playing poorly, so whatever happened to him makes sense, though he didn't lose any overall points, which is also strange. Regardless, neither here nor there. Did the roster update actually affect your lineup construction in any way? Just curious. God, Tatis has been unbelievable, by the way. Holy goodness, he is a monster. That's the other thing to talk about here, by the way, because fielding and speed means so much for a player's overall, which I get. It's why Pete Crow Armstrong is a diamond now, by the way. We were all aware, based on my video that came out before the game even dropped, that Pete Crow was an early diamond candidate because of his speed and defense. Whatever. I think Tatis is actually being held back in the player rating system. His offensive attributes could and should be better. Maybe the same as Bobby Witt. But because they have to give him high fielding, high arm strength, high accuracy, high speed, because he deserves it fully, they can't make his hitting as good, because then he'd be the best card in the game. I don't know the correct answer here, and I'm not trying to complain just to complain. I really don't even think, well, I might be complaining. I'm not trying to complain. I'm trying to get to the bottom. I'm trying to be inquisitive and figure out the best way to make this work. Just from a card usability standpoint. Like, if you look at, it doesn't even have to be live series cards. We can have this conversation about, like, a lot of people. And it's going to take me a minute to pull up a good example, I'm sure. And it usually happens with hitters more so than pitchers. Because if you look at it, let's do a reliever first. It was this one. So, Jonathan Loaisiga just came out last week. I think he's a guy who should be in everybody's bullpen. He's a little on the pricey side right now for a headliner, but that's because everybody wants to use him. Relievers are always going to be very good in key attributes, right? Well, good relievers. Because they don't need to be allotted a lot of stamina, so you have those points to put elsewhere. And it leads to guys having higher hit per nine, higher BB per nine, clutch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is where I would love to know how much stamina actually goes into a card's overall. Like, does 120 stamina automatically give you a massive boost, or is stamina a little bit more of one of those behind-the-scenes attributes? Like, I want to know more. I just want to understand. More transparency is always better than less transparency. But let's find a hitter who would fit for this narrative I'm trying to build. I don't get how this card's a 90 for what it's worth. That's not even fitting in my discussion, but this Christian Yelich is one of the biggest disappointments so far, right next to his buddy Chipper Jones. I guess Andre Dawson's a good one because it fits into the defense and speed narrative. This is a 90. When dropped, it was theoretically, one of the highest rated best cards in the game. This card stinks. It stinks. But he's got good fielding and good speed. And he's durable. So this is what he looks like. No one's using Andre Dawson. And it's shout out to Andre Dawson. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He deserves more love. But this is because this is how cards are built. 5-tool players, 5-tool hitters, early on in a power creep cycle get screwed. They're so good at so many things, they actually get held back in some things in card building. Because otherwise, they would all be 99s immediately. And that's not what we're advocating for here. We're not advocating for that. We like the power creep. We're fans of the power creep. 99s will come later on, and we will enjoy them when they get here. But the 5-tool player exposes the biggest flaw in the attribute updates and attribute allotment. Is that you can't actually make them very good until you hit the attribute cap, the 99 rating cap, and then you can just go nuts and give people whatever you want, like Beltran. Beltran, why did I go all the way out? Beltran is a 99. He is the best rating you can get. He's built real well. Why? Because he's already a 99, and they just said, all right, you can take your points everywhere. That's how it works when they're the best. But when they're the stinkiest, it looks like Andre Dawson. Though, obviously, Andre Dawson is a diet version of what this card's intended to be, but you understand where I'm getting at. I'm not blaming. This is not a blame situation. I just think it's a time to either be transparent situation or a time to rethink how we do things situation. Maybe there's an opportunity for the great people behind the updates at SDS, the roster updates at SDS, to like reassess the algorithm, the formula. I don't know. I'm very curious about this. This is more of a positioning a question to the community and seeing maybe I'm a lunatic, which I sometimes am. Or if maybe we're all onto something here. I don't know. I don't know. But that's kind of like the crux of what we want to talk about here. I want to give everyone a squad update. On Wednesday this week, tomorrow, I will be doing a Weekend Classic prep video, kind of like I did last time. My lineup is subject to change. So I'm recording this Sunday morning, obviously. Well, not obviously. Some of you guys don't know that. I record everything on Sunday mornings, mostly. Tuesday is our Spotlight Player of the Month, Retro Lightning. All the fun stuff is coming out on Tuesday. My lineup could look very different by that Wednesday video. So on Sunday, May 4th, may the 4th be with you, this is what my team looks like. In that Wednesday video, I'm hoping it looks different. Because I need these Lightning cards and Retro Lightning cards to be worth the investment, because those Spotlight cards ain't cheap. At least in the aggregate, they add up. But this is what we're working with for the God Squad on May 4th. Brian Reynolds is still holding down left field. He's been very good. A little bit of a slump, but a lot of that was some Weekend Classic stuff, and I haven't been hitting great lately. We have switched, just in case you guys didn't know, to the purple P-ring. We're using a purple P-ring now. I'm hoping it helps. I was usually a green one. We're working on the purple one. Carlos Beltran in center, Ken Griffey Jr. in right. I don't see a world in which my outfield changes. I'm very good with Griffey. He's actually been good at a position in right field. Somebody asked me, why don't you put Griffey in center and Beltran in right? That is a waste of Beltran's defense. Beltran is so good in center field. Griffey's been fine in right field. I have no complaints to be made. Then later in games, when I make the switch to put PCA in the outfield, that's when PCA goes to center and Beltran goes to right. I do that just about every ranked game just to shore up the outfield reaction times. But this is what it is right now. I'm happy with it. Gil Hodges is not leaving first base until August, like when the next best first baseman comes out. I made an investment here. I spent $70K on Jorge Polanco. I'm having a rough go of it at second base. We've talked about this recently. I love Brandon Lau, but he's just not a God Squad guy. Not on Hall of Fame and above. All-Star and below, he's probably a killer, and he's probably a ton of fun. That's probably why I love him so much in BR, his live series card. But that 89 was just not cutting it for me in ranked. I like Ketel as well, but I feel like Jorge just has the better swing. He offers more offensively, so he's playing second base right now. Shortstop, despite all the complaining I just did, I'm still using Bobby Witt just because of how friggin' consistent he is. I'm hitting .416, 12 homers, 25 RBI. Like, he's really good. I am a little worried the power drop is going to hurt him in the long run. I've only played one ranked game since the roster update. No homers, but he did have 2 singles and 2 steals. He still does what he's got to do, plus he's an incredible fielder. Scott Rowland's playing third. Ted Simmons is still catching. I am not rich with stubs, so I do not have Jorge Posada. Though I actually like Ted, hitting .388. So, not a lot of homers, not a lot of doubles, but he gets hits, and he gets on base. So it's good enough for me. DH is in a state of flux. I don't know what the hell to do with my last hitter. Chase Headley's now there. This was a decision I just made 10 minutes before I started recording. I don't even know how I feel about Chase Headley there yet. I'm hoping the Lightning card or the Retro Lightning card can slap in there. Though I have a stinky suspicion one of them is going to be a pitcher. Just maybe. Just maybe. I'm not 100 on that, but just maybe. Chase Headley's been very good in BR, where he's hitting .629. That's excellent. Haven't used him in ranked yet. The bench. I have optimized the bench for this main team here. As I said, PCA comes into play outfield defense. He's perfect at that. He has 0 career ranked at-bats. Because I don't want to hit with him. He comes in the 8th or 9th for defense after Griffey gets his last at-bat. Tommy Edman is here. He kills a lefty, but he's also here to play defense for Polanco, because Polanco is bad in the field. Bad. Not good. Bad. So Edman is very much coming in. Chipper Jones is here to crush a lefty. What situation is he coming in? I don't really know. The only true lefty bat in the lineup is Griffey, who actually has reverse splits. So I'm not going to platoon that. I do think, though, in the 8th or 9th inning, if I can trap a lefty, I'm going to go with the guy who's got the platoon advantage, not in terms of attributes, but in terms of handedness, and that's Chipper. Though Chipper actually technically is better against lefties, even though it's marginal. So that's when I'll use Chipper, and that's then when PCA will come in. Cal Raleigh is here. Probably the least utilized of the bench players. He's there for the rare instance I'll have to pinch run with Ted Simmons late, and then I need my catcher. Plus, he's a little better defensively, though no pop time. But he is better attribute-wise defensively than Ted Simmons. So that's the mechanisms behind why I chose what I'm using. If Weekend Classic started today, thank God it doesn't, I would be fine using this team. I've built the team appropriately to be ready for it. But I'm hoping today's content drop changes the calculus a little bit. Would love a big bat. I don't know who the Lightning player is going to be. I think it's going to be maybe Corbin Carroll. I don't know how much that excites me. Nothing against Corbin Carroll. He's awesome. I just don't know how much. We'll see what the card looks like. If it is him. The pitching staff, not much has changed. Clemens, Zimmerman, Randy Johnson, John Donaldson, Al Leiter. Al Leiter is so good with the changeup that he is better than, in my opinion, better than Valenzuela. I cannot get outs with Valenzuela. He's better than Shohei, better than May, better than Cueto, better than DeGrom. I think Al Leiter's great. He's better than Gibson. He's better than a lot of these higher-rated guys. The bullpen, we have removed Gregory Soto. He's been given the heave-ho. I cannot pitch with that idiot. His delivery's too fast. It's way too fast, and he doesn't put the ball where I want. So John Franco's back as my third lefty. We have Andrew Miller, who's almost P5. We have Aroldis Chapman. They should be staples in most bullpens. And then I'm going Raleigh Fingers, Lucas Ursig, Jonathan Loaisiga, Adam Ottavino, and Darren O'Day. Guys left on the cutting room floor. Mason Miller got a huge roster update. He's very good. I don't like only having 3 pitches. You could just sit on stuff a lot easier. That's all it comes down to for me. Trevor Hoffman. I was getting hit around a little bit with him. And that didn't make me feel good. So he's out. Matt Brash is not bad. He's the next guy in if I struggle with like Loaisiga or Ottavino. He's very good. Kind of same with Kopech. I was doing all right with Kopech. 13 2/3, 3.29, 15 strikeouts. I'd rather use Loaisiga and Ottavino, because again, 3 pitches with Kopech. That's kind of what it comes down to there. And that's really, those are the bullpen guys. We need more lefties in the game. If you sort by left-handers, we have Soto, Davis, Billy Wagner, and Hobie Milner. Matt Strahm and Columb, I guess, as well. Columb? I don't know how to say that name. And then obviously who's starting for me. But we need some more lefties. We need some more. I don't know how we get there. Garrett Clevenger's been good. Maybe he gets like a henchman? I think he could get a henchman, right? Let's go see what the roster update is. Just so I can actually see how much he has changed. We gotta go to 78. I want to see what his stats for this season say. Garrett, he got a big update. Garrett Clevenger. Did we pass? We might have passed him. One more look. Sorry. We're doing it live. Garrett, where are you, you stupid ass? There he is. He's got a 2.19 ERA, 17 strikeouts in 12 innings, and a .73 whip. I could see him getting a spotlight card. Garrett Clevenger would actually be great. Hey, SDS, if you're listening, it's probably too late because you've built it and it comes out in 3 hours. But Garrett Clevenger as a spotlight henchman. Fun. But that is where we're at. This is the lineup. These are my frustrations with how attributes work in the game. If you have thoughts on anything we talked about today, we talked about a smattering of topics. Let me know. Love to have conversations on this topic, especially on the roster topic, especially because I think it just there's more information to be had, and I like information. So, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for making it to the end. Good luck with grinding all the cool stuff coming out today. Love you all. See you next time.